The meeting will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda. Anyone have any changes to it?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. We have minutes from the previous meeting. Anybody have any corrections, questions, comments?
I move approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment, and I want to make a point that I am not going to accept any comments this morning on the Erickson mine issue. I think we have received enough information over the weeks, and enough discussion. I don't want to get bogged down in that again this morning. So if anyone has any public comments other than that, please come forward. Okay, thank you. Rick Frank.
Morning.
Morning.
What I'd like to do this morning a little bit, there's about 3 items I'd like to cover quickly. One is to bring the board up to speed in regard to our negotiations with La Crosse County. Teresa and I had attended several meetings over there so far as extending the long-term agreement with La Crosse County. I did send you a cover letter plus some of the disposal of the amount of material that's going through La Crosse from Houston County. The one thing I wanted to basically give the board an update on is with the past we have done and I feel a very, very good job as far as making sure that what's generated in this county is going to La Crosse as per our contract. As you can see, going forward, and just a little history here, back in 2000, I think it was 2006, there was an update at the La Crosse, at the Excel plant, for which Houston County had to pay a portion of that. At the time, what it was agreed upon that we would increase the landfill tip fee there, and Houston County was rebated that back. Because of the past storms we've had and the interest rates down where they are, the amount that we have been delivering to La Crosse far exceeds the yearly payment that we are due La Crosse because of that upgrade. The upgrade contract runs through 2023. That is fast approaching, and what La Crosse wants to do is extend the contract now. They have done that with Excel, as we explained in the past, and then they also want to do it now with the outlying counties. What I want to bring forward in the information I did give you is that La Crosse, or Houston County, like I said, right now, we're one of the few that actually are carrying a surplus, and we have a credit over there. That was discussed at the last policy board meeting, and I want to make sure that Houston County, the initial thought was just to roll that money through into the La Crosse solid waste systems, and it was the consensus of the policy board meeting that that's not probably the right thing to do, and that Houston County, because of what the amount we've got going there, and plus the job that we have been doing securing our waste to La Crosse, that we should be receiving that back to Houston County. We have paid for it in the initial. The policy board meeting, or committee did agree with all that, and what we're doing now is amending the original contracts that we have with La Crosse, that they have, the draft, I should say, contracts, is now to include anybody that has a surplus, that we are entitled to have that back.
What is that amount, Rick?
What we're projecting right now, we have on right now about $7,700 that are sitting there, and we're projecting it could go over close to 20, but before the contract's done.
20,000.
Yes. What we're looking at, and I suggested to them, I know La Crosse was a little hesitant on giving that back, and maybe a way to proceed under this is use that money long-term to cover the Haz Waste programs that we use from La Crosse County. We just had one last week, and we could take that money to basically offset our expenses that way, rather than having La Crosse was a little hesitant on just writing us a check. But I guess I feel that Houston County should be retrieving that money back as long as we're a participant in La Crosse. They don't teach us treat us, and that's what the contract says, basically says, any different than a La Crosse resident, that we should, and because we did back a few years back, in 2010, I should say, we did adopt ordinances and contracts, which every hauler in the county that does business here is under, that they're guaranteeing everything goes La Crosse, and that's why we are holding such a surplus there. And like I said, because we did take them steps to go forward with that we should be entitled to that money back.
Have the haulers' compliance been steady? You haven't had any?
We seen, once the contracts and the ordinances were in place and the contracts were all signed, we did see an increase in the amount of material that was being delivered to La Crosse, took a jump. So, yes, the contract, or the haulers are all abiding by the contract.
Good.
But I just, what I wanted to do is just keep the board apprised of what's going on and what the discussions are, and they bring them up to speed, because they're looking at, later on this summer of having those contracts, the draft, over to us counties to then sign.
Do you see any downside to signing?
If this is included, then no. And it looked like going forward, they were going to include the surpluses there too. It's just a matter of the wording, how they want to word that. But I guess I'm in agreement at this point of using that money for, our programs, Houston County programs, for what we use in La Crosse to offset some of our costs.
Okay. All right.
Otherwise, I just wanted to give the board, also Thursday, we did have a Haz Waste collection, and I do have some. These are some of the numbers that I had that we did on the collection down there. We did have it was very, we had it at the recycling center in Houston. And as you can see, we took in close to 3,700 pounds on 47, with 47 total households participating in that. What I want to bring up is just the far, under the far left there where you see free paints. We are now participating in a program that through, it's called Paint Care, that any latexes or oil paints and that sort of stuff is actually, county is getting reimbursed. We need to pay that up front, but then we're getting reimbursement back for those materials from a program that's run through the state. So it's actually free for our participants that drop that stuff off, that material. I just want to reiterate, as you can see, we've got two more collections coming up. One is at the Spring Grove Highway Department. That's on July 6th. And all these are run between 1 and 6 o'clock. And then also at the La Crescent drop site, it's on August 22nd. And that again is from 1 to 6. So the programs have been going ever since we started on these here, have been going great guns. La Crosse does a very nice job of coming over there with their mobile units, and then they separate everything out, weigh everything, and dispose of it properly. They leave with everything, so it's works very well for us. The other thing I wanted to bring up is just right now I've been contacted by the Revolutionary Plastics that does the film plastic. We've been trying for quite a length of time to get into the county. That's the
egg bag stuff?
egg bag plastic, the film plastic. We had over 50-some call in for containers. Those will be delivered now July 10th, and I'm working with the county highway department. They're looking for a spot to drop those off and then have them reloaded to the farmers. And Brian has offered the Spring Grove Highway Department parking lot, because it's blacktopped, and we kind of need a blacktopped area for the machines that they've got Bobcats and a loader sitting there. That's going to take place. They're going to drop everything off on the 10th or 9th or 10th. 9th, I think, is on a Friday, and then that Monday on the 12th, they're contacting all the residents to have those all picked up. So they'll be all done in over a weekend. They'll drop them off on a Friday, and then that following Monday, and they're contacting the people to stage it for them to come in and pick their containers up. They're doing 110 containers, and they're actually covering part of Fillmore and Olmsted County along with this drop-off. So, and then, like I said, they're staging all these people to come in at certain times, so they don't all come in at one time. And I'm pretty excited about that happening. We've been working on this for quite a while, and it's kind of nice to see the fruition come forward as so we get rid of that film plastic. It's always been such a problem in the county. So
Good. All right.
What, La Crosse County, are they expanding? Is that what that construction is over by West Salem?
there's
the
no
solid waste?
expansion.
Oh, okay. There's a bunch
Well,
of construction
I
going
should take this back. They're putting in a new entryway.
on. Okay, that's what that is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they've been working on that for quite some time over there.
Yeah.
They had to buy the property, and what they're doing is they're actually going to have a flow pattern now going through in and
Go
out
in
of
one
this.
way and out the other
Yeah,
kind of a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that took a couple of years for them to accomplish that.
Sure.
But it's,
I was
yeah,
curious.
that's finally coming.
Cool. Thanks, Rick.
Yep. Thank you, Rick. All right, the Erickson Mine matter.
Well, we've had a lot of, we've gathered a lot of information, both from the public hearing and since. Seems like I get something almost daily. And I realize we need to focus on the road issue, the non-compliant road issue for a decision. So I'm going to make a motion to not revoke the conditional use permit based on the findings of fact of option 1, and the road violation is now compliant. And the district court found only the road violation to be considered.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Roll call.
Roll call on.
The vote.
See if there's discussion first.
I have listened to a lot of people on this. I know there's a lot of history involved. I understand that. But I also understand that we are, as a board, a legal entity. And we have, I'm afraid, an obligation to the taxpayers at large to pay attention to that, and to pay attention to the fact that we represent all of the taxpayers. Now, I know this debate has become very contentious. I have been yelled at, screamed at, sworn at, lied to, lied about, and several other things that I won't enumerate in the discussion of this thing. Not much fun. I've also had some very good discussions with people on both sides, and I really appreciate that. Attorney's advice in this situation, I guess, has to override in my mind. And what I'm hearing our attorneys say is that the most legally defensible option at this point would be Teresa's motion.
Okay, I'd like to weigh in on another, I'll try an analogy again. Say a high school baseball team went 14-0 and won the championship, and they had the pleasure throughout the year of big wins and lots of excitement and got a trophy and everything, and then, well, sorry, but you used an ineligible player. Your record now is 0-14, and we'll take the trophy back, and you can start over next year. I have a letter here from our lawyer that you referenced in May of 2013, outlining 4 very definitive reasons why the cup should not have been approved. A former zoning administrator went ahead anyhow. Consequently, the Ericksons have enjoyed 4 years of, if they haven't made money, at least the ability to make money. The people who have complained, from everything I have been seeing, the main thrust was enforce your ordinance. Throughout that time, the county administrator, 7 planning commission members and 3 board of adjustment members couldn't determine that the road was in violation. It's unfathomable. You could get somebody, you know, if the grade school had a day off, you could get some kid over there and measure. It boggles my mind, because it was a concerted effort to not fix it, orchestrated, unfortunately, by our county. That isn't what government at any level should be involved in. And then the behavior toward the complainers, again, is unbelievable for anybody that would be in a public office to engage in. Consequently, I would be much in favor of saying, let's start over.
The only thing that I'm going to say on this, I'll keep it short. Back in 2014, Fred Scott, I know you guys weren't here, but Teresa was. And I had said during that meeting, and given out a warning that if we don't do it right, it's going to come back again to haunt us. And it did. So I guess I give that warning now too, that it takes a little bit more effort and energy to do things the right way. But in the long term, it's better. And I'd like to see things done the right way. Because it's not, I don't believe this is going to be a dead issue. I think you're still going to have arguments on both sides and both parties are going to be affected. So until it's done right, it's going to come back again. And I was right in 2014, and I hope I'm not right this time.
Anybody else? Roll call vote.
District 1,
No.
District 2,
No.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Brian?
Good morning. I have a couple projects I would like to get awarded today. The first project is project SAP 28-599-090. It's for a bridge replacement on Bush Valley Road in La Crescent Township.
598.
Actually, it's 599.
Oh,
It's
so ours is wrong?
Yeah, the very
Okay.
front cover sheet is.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I'll correct that.
Yep. The engineer's estimate on the project was $273,905.35. Low bid came in at $230,127.01, and that is to Zinke Excavating. I'd recommend awarding the project to Zinke Excavating.
Motion to award the bid to Zinke Excavating.
I'll second that.
Questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Second project is project SAP 028-599-086. This is a bridge replacement on Rooster Valley Road in Blackhammer Township. Bids were opened yesterday. Engineers estimate $167,530. The low bid was Van Gundy Excavating, $98,653.25. So quite a bit below our estimate. You know, we looked overall as far as why it was such a difference, and numbers just came back good. Second bidder was a little bit less than $200 more than the low bid, so it's a very,
So they were both pretty low.
yeah, very close, very competitive bid.
41 and 41,
So
11.
my recommendation is to award the contract to Van Gundy Excavating.
Yeah, motion to approve Van Gundy Excavating for the project.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the third item, and I'm not sure if you received this or not, 'cause he's not on the agenda, is accepting the plat for project SAP 028-627-009. Did you receive that? I think it was sent over to Sharon
I think it
Thursday
went out
afternoon.
late.
Yeah, that
It
was
did.
Yeah,
We did.
yeah.
Okay.
yesterday, was it, or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yep,
saw it.
so this is, there's an area about 1 mile southeast of Spring Grove that when we get heavy rains, the roadway will overtop. In 2016, during the August and September rains, the road overtopped, I believe, at that location 3 times, I know at least twice. So the road overtops. The current pipe out there is a 60-inch metal culvert. We want to replace it with a bridge structure. It's a bigger box structure, culvert structure. We had to acquire land from one landowner for that. We got the signatures from that landowner last Tuesday, and we plan on advertising this project this week if at all possible, trying to get this project constructed before the school year. We're going to be bumping up against the limits already, so I'd like to get this approved today rather than waiting 1 week. Otherwise, we can advertise without the plat approval, but it'd be nice to have the plat approved. So what I'm requesting today is the plat and a resolution approval for project SAP 028-627-009.
Does this include a bridge?
This is considered, it's considered a bridge structure, but really it's a box culvert that's, I believe it's a 10-foot by 5-foot box culvert structure, maybe 10 foot by 4 foot. We've changed it back and forth in the size.
I'll make a motion to approve the project south of Spring Grove.
Second.
I don't remember all the numbers right now.
Well,
think we can
we're not
fill in
gonna,
the-
we're not gonna vote until you,
Get it right.
SAP 00.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, out of total curiosity, okay, so they're putting in the culverts going into La Tressa, right? That, what that construction was?
Yep,
And then they're gonna start paving that in a couple weeks, right?
correct.
How did they get the culverts underneath there without ripping that road up?
I haven't seen the plans for that. I think that they're just lining the culverts and doing some extensions.
Okay.
So the
Are you
stuff-
talking about the pike?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, on both on the Pike and between Miller's Corner and La Crescent.
Okay, because on the pike, people have been asking me, I think they're just storing barrels.
I shouldn't say, I'm talking, I'm sorry, I'm not talking the Pike, I'm talking between Miller's Corners and
Yep.
the Crescent
Oh.
there, but yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
pike
but-
too.
But both areas are doing some culvert lining.
Okay,
So what I think is that they're lining the pipe and then they're doing some replacement outside of the travel lanes.
oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, they blow a big thing through the pipe that hardens and lines it.
Oh, serious?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Cool. I was just curious, I had a lot of people asking what was going on over there.
Yeah, we've lined a few pipes, but with traffic volumes on the state highways, they do a lot more lining than
Yeah,
what we
we're
do.
doing a lot.
Just because
They're
it's
doing a lot.
quicker, you don't have to disrupt traffic, because you,
Yeah, we need to shut down a roadway to detour traffic. You know, out there you'd have to detour across. You know,
Yeah, where would you
20,
detour that?
25
Jeez.
over to Mount Prairie and back. You know, that's a
Over
long
the hill
detour,
again like
so-
we've done once, and it's
Yeah,
ugly.
yeah, okay, cool. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Thank you. Did you get a hold of Teresa? Or
She's
Tess?
on her way.
Okay.
I did see a man with just his head out of the hole this morning,
Oh, yeah?
right by, between Miller's Corner and La Crescent. It was kind of eerie.
Yep.
Why don't we just jump down to the consent agenda? Tess is on her way.
Yeah, motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Smith?
Okay, we're talking to Brian. Can you read what was
Yeah,
that?
under the consent. What's the acronym, Smith?
Southern Minnesota.
Oh, Initiative Fund.
Oh, yeah, okay. I should have a catalog of
Cheat sheet.
acronyms.
Yeah.
Right.
Jack, it would be several hundred pages long. It's not
Really?
worth it.
Was there a motion to approve? Yeah, was there a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda approved.
Can you sign this with the magic pen? Right there. Thank you.
Tess?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, we have a few odds and ends, if you will, on our agenda this morning. And to start with, we are looking at the Highway Department, the maintenance foreman. And as you recall, the maintenance foreman recently retired his position. The county engineer, Brian Pogozinski, and I did not make a request at that time to replace him, pending we really want to take a look at the structure of the department and analyze what needs might be there. We're prepared to discuss that this morning. We also would like to, pending your approval, initiate two different searches then. So we're looking at approving a competitive search for a maintenance foreman to replace the previous one, and pending discussion, approve a job description, a banding of B242, and posting an internal search, and what this position is the Highway Maintenance Specialist Senior. This was recently banded by Gallagher and Associates to be the equivalent band of where our mechanic is, as well as where our sign specialist is. It's basically at the top of the range a 60 cents an hour difference between that and the maintenance specialist. What it does for us, it has 15% of the duties are backup for the foreman. This allows us to, when the foreman is not there due to vacation sick leave, to have backup. Also, to have backup when we have, which frequently we do, multiple sites. So that we have basically the safety officer on oversight, I should say, the safety oversight, the lead work being done on multiple sites at once, and one person simply cannot be around the county. The cost is marginal. That search would be done internally. It would be a promotional opportunity for a maintenance specialist
So this is a
or
new,
maintenance operator.
this is a new position.
Not a new, not an additional FTE, but it is a new job description.
So let's do this. Give me an overview of, because it sounds like you're kind of restructuring a little bit. Give me an overview of the restructuring versus,
Simply taking a maintenance operator specialist,
which is, in layman's terms, is what's their job?
your
Heavy equipment operators.
heavy
Yeah,
equipment
yep.
operators.
Okay.
Most
And-
all of our maintenance people are that, correct?
And having a part-time lead, 15% part-time, not a
Okay.
full-time lead, a part-time
So
lead.
just taking one of them and giving them a little bit more authoritarian duties to, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, so currently we have a maintenance foreman position, 10 maintenance specialists, 1 sign specialist, 1 mechanic that all fall under the maintenance foreman. So there's 12 guys under the foreman. There is not a defined number 2 within the maintenance side under the foreman, so we have all 12 guys are essentially peers. This will give that opportunity where the maintenance foreman, when they're on vacation, sick, when we have a job site that might have 3 or 4 guys on a job site someplace doing some work, the foreman needs to go elsewhere, either get specs put together, do road stuff, to have that defined number 2 and who's in charge on the job site.
So, just to make sure that I'm understanding. So basically, I'm gonna do it in language.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had Tom up here.
Yes.
Right? And then you're just looking at somebody if he's gone to take over. Is that basically what we're looking for?
Yep, so instead
Okay.
instead of having 1 with 10 operators, we're gonna have, 1 foreman with 1 senior
Gotcha.
operator and 9 operators.
Okay, I understand
So,
now.
so
Yep.
no new positions, total pay at the high end, 60 cents an hour roughly, 280 hours per year, and to being about a $1,200 budget impact for the county.
Yep.
Is the highway maintenance foreman, is that an internal search initially, or?
No, we're gonna do both internal and external search for that. We will advertise it internally before it goes out and hits the papers, but we are doing both internal and external search.
It'll be an equal opportunity competitive search. There may very well be an internal applicant that rises to that position, then we'd have to come back and request. What I handed you is what I sent via electronically. Note, though, that prior to the printing, Brian and I took a second look at this and decided the team lead work really needed to be 15%. Therefore, the road and bridge maintenance repair is back at 55%. Everything except for the team lead worker, everything else are the duties of a highway maintenance specialist,
So
heavy operator, heavy equipment operator.
you had said that it'll be internal search. Okay.
Internal, because it's not an additional, it's an incremental cost of,
Say that again, Carol? Okay.
from $22.90 per hour to $23.57 at step 3.
But then what were you saying? You said there'll be an internal, and if somebody takes that, you started to say something else.
In the conversation of the foreman, if the successful candidate is one who's already an employee of the county, then we will have to fill his operator position. And we would come back and tell the
One of the
board.
existing employees jumps up to foreman,
Yep.
then they'd have to backfill.
But how would you backfill 15%?
No.
Okay, you've got, may I?
Please.
Take the board? Thank you.
It'd be one, you'd still have Tom's position. You'd have 15% position.
Yep.
And then you'd have your regular maintenance specialist.
Yep.
So if one of them moves up,
That 15% to fill?
no, moves up into Tom's position. So you're gonna be doing
Oh,
two.
yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I thought we were just talking about the 15%.
No, she's talking if we fill Tom's with external.
I see.
We're gonna do internal or
We're
external.
kind of talking two things at once
Right.
here. Oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
where the
if it
confusion
ended up
is.
to be an internal person that took it,
Correct.
then we got backfill.
That backfill, yeah, obviously, right, yep, I see now.
So what we're talking about here is from the county engineer to the foreman.
Yep,
The foreman has sign operators currently, the sign specialists currently, maintenance operators,
Yep.
your heavy equipment guys, and your mechanic. We're looking at putting a out of hide, if you will,
mhm,
one of these positions being a part-time lead.
correct.
So, this position, we just asked for a competitive external, internal search,
Yep.
EEO search. This one, should you approve that, it'd just be, we're not gonna displace a current worker. It's just a promotional opportunity with what I would say is a modest increase in pay.
Mhm.
So, this position would be then the same cost as these two positions, 15% of the work. It really, I think one of the biggest benefits is the elite does is on-site safety when the foreman is not there.
Right.
At least your accountability is there. So, I'll do that for a moment.
Getting back to the agenda then, I have this, first bullet is to approve the competitive search for a maintenance foreman. That is an advertised competitive search. That should be done separately. If that is from within, then we will have to go down and backfill, if you will,
I got you
the
now.
operator.
Can we take care of that first?
Yeah.
Let's just get that off the table, so it's not
Yep.
confusing. Okay.
Yep.
Motion to approve search for maintenance foreman.
Second.
Any other questions?
Aye.
Any other questions for Tess? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Actually, I do have a question now that we're close to, well, where will this position start in relation to where Tom quit? I mean, in the banding, in the steps, a 1 and Tom was at a 6, or?
Tom was at a 3. This is a three-step a three-step contract. 0 to 12 months is step 1 with the county. 13 to 36 months is step 2. And then step 3 is 37 months beyond. So by the third year, they're at step 3, and that is the final step.
And that will pay for that 60-cent increase then actually for quite some time.
Now, you just were talking about Tom the foreman.
Yep. No, I understand the
Oh,
difference.
okay.
If there's savings,
Yeah.
I mean, currently the position's vacant. We really don't know if the new employee's gonna start at step 1 or if it'll get
Okay.
at a higher step depending on what they have for experience.
Your foreman, just for information, your foreman range is currently 2103. Step 2 is 2450, and step 3 is 2794. We are experiencing a market impact in several of our areas that we do searches in, and highway is one of them right now.
I believe it.
So, good question. But that's where we're at.
So your second bullet, consider highway specialist senior position, you want to just no action, just more or less, this is what we're thinking, or do you want action to approve
Well,
having a lead?
We would ideally like action taken today.
To
If-
approve the description and the banding? Is that what you're looking
To
for?
approve the description, the banding, as well as
And
the
posting.
search. But if you need a little more time, I'm willing to bring it back to the next meeting because we just gave you this information this week.
I don't see any reason to wait.
Well,
Makes sense to have
I
a
think having
second
a second in
person.
command
Yeah,
defined
right.
Yeah.
would help.
I think it was something that should have been, that's what most places have it. I don't know anybody else really that doesn't have somebody. There's just, even besides vacations and sick leave, there's meetings, there's stuff that you're not there for, maybe, in night stuff, somebody's got to be in charge, Somebody's got to say, we're splitting up, you 4 here, you 3 there.
Right.
It's got to be done, and you can't keep relying on the same person to step up and do it without any compensation. It's not
Even-
huge compensation, but it's something.
Even a tree over the road. I mean, if the foreman's on vacation, then where does that call go?
I'll make a motion to approve, I guess I call them intermittent foremans. What was the, just a highway senior specialist?
If you would, Commissioner, approve the job description, approve the banding of, it's written down there for you, down B242, and approve the internal posting.
Give her an inch, she takes them all.
I know it.
Okay, you're asking for 3 separate motions.
No,
Or just one
separate.
motion.
One, it's all-
Okay,
it's written,
okay.
it's all,
If you read it, also approve it.
I read it, so there you are.
So approved. Or I make a motion
Second.
to approve.
Okay, second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And by the way, the county engineer and I worked on updating all the job descriptions within this work class, so those are all up to date and current. And I appreciate that. I believe you have on there a maintenance specialist resignation that has been withdrawn, so we have no further business regarding highway department at this time.
So Shara, that card we signed for him.
Yep, look at that one.
Thank you.
Now, there was an addendum to our agenda that I think referred to that. What was-
It was a, there was a recent,
Yeah,
kind of very recent resignation we added to it, but it has been removed.
oh, okay.
Withdrawn.
Brian sweet talked him.
Yes. Actually, I think he sweet talked me to allow him to stay, and that wasn't too difficult. So.
Good.
All right, thank you.
I don't believe the sheriff is here, but,
Well, do you want to go,
oh, that, I don't know that he will be coming.
Oh,
He
okay.
mentioned to me that, I just wanted to double check before I jumped in.
Okay.
We held interviews for the emergency management director. Those were conducted on May 12th. A member of Homeland Security from Minnesota was part of the interview team. Public Health Director for the Houston County was a member of that team, as well as the Emergency Management Director for Winona County. And we certainly appreciate the donation of time, if you will, of the outside expertise coming down and assisting us with that process. We interviewed 2 candidates and have made a conditional offer pending board approval to 1 candidate. Approve the hire of Olivia Nide as a probationary emergency management director. This is a .5 FTE. It's an AFSCME C44 position, which is, this was a new position put on the books. We're requesting step 2. This is a, Commissioner Connors, step 2 on a 9-step scale. This is an exempt position, which means it's salaried, not hourly. And this is, would be effective June 12th, upon successful completion of her background check. Thought I had her resume with us. She had, Ms. Naide had a very impressive interview. This was consensus by the entire interview committee. She is a graduate in emergency management planning. I believe it was from the University of North Dakota. Excuse me, North Dakota State. I'm thinking of the acronym, NSD. North Dakota State University. She excelled at her studies there. She did 2 very detailed internships, one with Swift County and the other with Stearns County, where she was not just peripherally, but had a, what I would call is a substantial, if not lead role in some of the planning that they were doing there. She has great familiarity with continuity of operations planning, as well as working, doing outreach and working with members of the community in emergency planning and response. So it is, we were very pleased to make this conditional offer pending your approval.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
No, I'll give you a preference. I'm gonna vote against it. The reason has nothing to do with the applicant, but the way that I feel that the whole issue was handled from the get-go. So just to clarify that it's not, has nothing to do with the applicant itself.
Not the issue of the search itself,
No.
I hope, Commissioner. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, Surveyor's Office. As you know, the surveyor budgets annually for summer help. This is usually, typically has been student help, college students that are interested in the field or that are testing the field for interest. We are requesting the rehire. We did, by the way, posted the position, looked for, gave equal opportunity for applicants, and the determination was made to rehire Samuel Stemper, who has, I believe, done this work for us for 2 years. He is a survey student up at, is it St. Cloud or Mankato, one of those 2 universities, as a 67-day employee with a wage of $12.51 per hour effective May 25th. The surveyor has, I believe, money for 42 days, and we'll be watching this closely. So even though it's classified as a 67-day employee, Mr. Stemper would be here with us for 42 of those days.
Will he also be helping the survey crew at the county highway shop?
No, not this year.
Okay, I know they have in the past.
They have. At least the last time I asked, that
It wasn't the case.
wasn't.
I'll make a motion to approve Samuel Stemper as a 67-day employee.
Second.
Discussion.
No, but I think it's good. I'm glad we do that. Give some people some experience and get a little benefit for ourselves.
And we get a tremendous benefit from
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Talking with Tammy and the assistant survey tech, this isn't just go wash the car type job. They're in the field hauling equipment, really getting
That's
in there and
holding
helping with the work.
That's the guy that gets to haul all that equipment to the top of the hill where you have to set it up.
Well, the other guy just rides forward.
Right. No, my son did it for 2 summers.
Yeah, that's good.
I have to, I got to just share this. My father-in-law, who used to be a county engineer, but when he was working for a private firm in La Crosse, had a summer college student, and the day before the student was going to help him out, he had found a big dead rattlesnake and put it in his trunk. So that morning when the college student came, Myron said, would you mind going in the trunk, getting that plumb bob out, please? The student came back, but that was after he ran away for about a block, I think, but anyhow.
That does sound like your father-in-law.
So, did we had a second, then Justin, so we have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, public health. We request that you accept the resignation of Diane Giese, home health aide, effective June 2nd, 2017, and thank her for her service to the residents of Houston County.
What's the name?
Diane, I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, Giese,
Okay.
Giese.
Yep, easy.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Diane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Next, the assessor. Accept the resignation of Daniel Cheska, coordinator, GIS coordinator, effective the end of the business day on Friday, June 9th, 2017, and thank Dan for his nearly 19 years of service to the county. Be 19 years, I believe, sometime in September.
You couldn't talk him into staying?
We don't have to accept this, do we? We want to keep them.
No.
Really,
I've had conversations with Mr. Cheska regarding the 911 Next Gen as to that interface between the state and the, if you will, between the state and the county, and what, and he is exploring what other counties are doing because there's some temporary one-time work that needs to be done. We've discussed this, I believe, in the Personnel Committee at with Mr. Cheska. And apparently there are 2 vendors out there that other counties are looking at using, and at this time for that particular aspect of this job, Dan is looking at and will bring a proposal to the board so that he won't be leaving us with that open-ended. And there are 2 vendors he is familiar with that do a lot of work in this area. Other counties, in my conversation with Dan, apparently other counties found it to be more cost-effective and time-effective to do that one-time job that way. So,
Okay. Before we go too far down the road, I'd like to discuss that a little bit, because we had talked about some other options before Dan was actually leaving.
yes, I'm just talking about the Next Gen,
Right.
that interface work. I'm not talking about Dan's position itself.
No, but, in doing that, we had talked about incorporating some other staff to possibly pick some of that up. And
Yeah,
I'd like
I'm
to-
not certain that's an option on the table.
Well, that's what I'd like to
Yeah.
find out, whether it is or not.
So we'll bring all that to the board, and the board can make its determination.
Okay. All right.
Justin and I met with Dan for a short time this morning, and I think he's going to come to you and see if we can get some kind of formal description out as soon as possible. He said, we might not, seeing he's the only one that's ever been here for that, we might have to go out of county and try to take something, between you and him, write up what we really feel we need in this county
Right.
as soon as we could.
As positions come open, I review the job descriptions and update them. That job description has, I've reviewed it, and Dan and I do need to work on it. It hasn't been updated since 1998. I also had a conversation with some of my counterparts, and I had a regional HR meeting on Friday, and have been inquiring about their GIS departments and what, if there is capacity there, if we needed something temporarily, and
And
So-
that was something Dan also did not completely turn down the option of possibly coming back and helping train. So that's
Okay.
something I would like to look at too. depends on who we would get and how long it would be until we
Absolutely.
could get somebody.
Mhm.
'Cause I know
Come
a
back
lot-
and mentor and train.
Yeah,
It
a lot
might
of
be
the
an
other,
opportunity for us to do some restructuring too of the
right. So,
land services.
yeah, I think this is good.
So the posting would have to wait till the restructuring then,
Mhm.
just so that you know.
I guess that was kind of
Because
my...
that will, could impact the classification or the banding of the position. Could.
Mhm.
That was my point, I guess, and
Yep.
um,
And I
what
know
I
the
said,
other-
that I'd like to look at this in a broader picture before we
Mhm.
go too far down the road here with...
Well, and commissioners, that's why, just as when, with the surveyor position, I look to see what available resources our neighboring communities might be able to assist with, or even what other opportunities there might be for combined
I
partnering.
know,
I don't know that that's feasible, but I'm not the one.
We
that
talked
would be
about
making
that
call.
4 years ago or more with Winona at that time.
Mhm.
I don't, it obviously didn't come to fruition, but it was a discussion.
Mhm.
just like to state that quite a few departments are very concerned that GIS affects them so
Mhm.
much that as we
I understand.
moving fast is very important to them, that, you know, if people come with needing driveways, needing permits for a lot of things. If we can't give them the GIS coordinate, they can't go forward and get their permits, and this can really hinder things considerably.
Well, and I recommend, Commissioner Connor, that members of the Personnel Committee or others that may be delegated to do this to meet with me, because if you're looking at some level of restructuring, we would need to look at that immediately and make that determination. It may not make a banding difference, so that I can get the
Right.
necessary paperwork all in order.
I mean,
In
that's
a-
what
in
I'm
short
wondering,
order.
if we could state at this point that, is there anything we would do in restructuring that would change a banding, or is that something we should, a couple people get together and make that determination as soon as possible so we can go
Well,
forward?
I caution you to
Yeah.
just get together and make that determination in isolation, but there have been a lot of conversations about it. There have been options put on the table that have been discussed and inside the Personnel Committee, and I am would welcome the opportunity to sit down and do a pros, cons, how does this fit into where the board sees its next steps on organizing its departments in the county.
Okay, can we set something like that up today so we know when we're getting together and so we can move this
We can
forward?
set it up right now if you wish.
I think that's probably a good idea. It's just,
This afternoon?
We have Joint Health in Mabel.
Oh, okay.
Tell me what we're setting up.
just if we're going to look at any kind of restructuring. we could
Brainstorm where possibly, if it should stay in the assessor's office, if it should be housed in a different office, what might advantages be in, just have a general discussion. It is probably unlikely that it will change, that would change the banding, but I at least need to have that conversation if you're thinking that way.
Well, let's do this. I guess personally, I was talking to Scott this morning in the group. Myself, Shar had this discussion earlier. I personally feel it belongs under the surveyor's office.
Yeah, from a little bit of talking there, I mean, I'm not sure why it wouldn't. That's what
Right.
I would like to at least, go down the path of, is why isn't it with the surveyor's office? Seems that would be more conducive to
Right.
anything. I don't know why and how it ended up where it was, though.
Well, okay, so
Well, I do, and
Someone, yep.
We do know why it moved. It was
There are,
originally.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, I'm wondering if should we get this settled we could get this settled now. Give some direction to test which direction the board's intending on going. I'm wondering do we want to do that?
Well, there's more, let me finish. The state requirement, more than a month ago, was presented with urgency. Haven't heard a word since. So I'd like some fleshing out of that too. I mean, what is required and when is it required and what's going to involve? I'm not going to approve, we go out and hire some outside firm to do this when maybe it's not even necessary.
We're not asking for that at this time, Commissioner. What I'm just saying is if that it will be fleshed out, and if there is a need out there, we'll bring a proposal back to you.
Well, this discussion, what we're asking, would that not fall in the bailiwick of the Personnel Committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Let me, just for the commissioners that haven't been involved in this all along, this has been a considerable longitudinal discussion and study, if you will, over the past several months. There are several models out there that that I have brought forth from other counties. There are advantages and disadvantages to housing them in survey. There are advantages and disadvantages to housing them in planning. There's advantages and disadvantages to housing them in DOT, highway. There are advantages and disadvantages to, I think those are the three. Those are the three models that are out there in different counties. I think DOT is off the table. The question becomes, where are you going overall with your departmental organization and then where would this fit? This position has fingers, if you will, in several departments rather deeply. And
well, let me interrupt you real quick. Jack just made a good point. We had talked a while ago about the potential for restructuring zoning to encompass more.
Right.
Do we want to look at that broader umbrella and just kind of?
I think we got to defer to the personnel committee again, and
Should we just
I
kinda start
don't
looking
think
at
we've fleshed this out as much as I didn't realize it was in depth as it was.
so we can
I
bring
think
up.
we probably
think we
need to
gotta-
do something as soon as.
I agree with Scott. I
Yeah,
think the
that-
Personnel Committee should meet
Yeah, let's,
with Tess to flesh out.
Let's start that next week. Find a day next week.
If Commissioner, if we, because of the urgency of this position, if the sooner we could meet, the better, because if I need to bring a proposal, pros and cons, to the board and get it out by, which I've been not very good about the auditor's deadlines, and I appreciate her patience. But so I can get it to you prior to your next meeting.
It would be great.
And
So
we
that
don't
you
have a
time to
meeting.
analyze it.
Yeah, we don't have a meeting next week, so.
would have
June
to-
6th,
I
June
understand,
6th is
but
our
I need
next
to
meeting.
get the whole plan put together
Yeah.
prior to.
Even 2 weeks is a
Leaving
good
Wednesday.
long push to get everything, if we're looking at doing some
Mm-hmm.
stuff, to have even a plan together.
Okay. Well, 2 weeks, then next week would be fine. I just want to be realistic about the time it takes to put these things
Yeah,
together.
how would next Tuesday morning work?
I'm available. I don't have a board meeting.
You're
that
used to
morning.
getting up on Tuesday mornings anyway.
Well, usually I'm up by about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So if that works for you, it's more like 9 o'clock would be better. But whenever it works for you.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday.
Set a time that works, if you want to go back and check your schedule, and then,
Just
I can
email
set
us
it
what
right
works for you.
now. What time would you gentlemen like to meet?
8:30.
8:30?
Does that work?
Yep,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Is that all, Tess?
Do we need
I
to
hope
make a
so.
motion to accept his
Oh.
resignation first, or?
Oh, did we?
Rachel Meyer
You get-
and Zach Swedberg.
Yeah, Teresa, you're right. I don't.
I'm sorry.
Did we
Yeah.
vote on
I
that?
think
We
so.
didn't vote, accept anything yet.
Tess, were you looking for?
Michelle, did we didn't vote on the motion to accept his resignation?
A motion,
Motion.
yes.
Oh,
Hold on
okay.
a second. Okay, motion to approve Dan Cheska's letter of resignation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, Shar. There are two items on here that we kind of gleaned over. And you had previously approved the hire of Zachary Swedberg as probationary sheriff's deputy. We need to change that start date. as well as you previously approved the hire of Rachel Meyer, probationary jailer dispatcher. We need to change that start date. Apparently, the background checks took a little longer. So if we could have two separate motions, one to approve the amending Zachary Swedberg probationary sheriff's deputy start date to May 30th, 2017.
So approved. I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Getting better.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And I am seeking a motion to approve amending Rachel Myers probationary jailer dispatcher start date to June 5th, 2017.
I'll make a motion to approve Rachel Meyer for June 5th. Is that what you, okay.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
It was a busy week. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. We have under here too, board planning per commissioner request. That come from you, Fred?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was added at the commissioner's request.
Okay. What is it?
Well, and I had, go ahead, Fred, if you want.
Well, Tess is involved in this too.
Well, I can
Fred,
speak to it, I think. Fred had brought up looking at our budgeting process, and at a start of the year meeting for AMC, Fred had mentioned that we really should look maybe long-term in terms of what the county, what are our goals as county government in terms of, well, in terms of running the county as efficiently as we can and as cost effectively as we can. And we were at a land use meeting Friday, and closed meetings was an issue or an item at that meeting. And I had questioned whether we could have a planning retreat. We can't.
We can, but it has to be open.
But
It has to be-
so what I suggested in talking with Fred then was that we hold a meeting different than our regular scheduled county board meetings that would still be open to the public, open to the press, but we would concentrate on that kind of a discussion. And incorporated in there, of course, would be Fred's ideas on budgeting, long-term goals, where we're at, where we've
Kind of
been.
a strategic planning meeting.
Strategic planning is good, yeah.
And I thought that was kind of when we had discussion about going to 3 meetings and having a night meeting, we were going to kind of do a lot of that at the night meetings and things and have those, but they're kind of just now regular board meetings.
Yeah.
But do we want to have another
You know, we used to have, we used to, after the regular meeting, go into a strategic planning meeting.
I just, you
on a
know, if
Tuesday.
it, yeah, I guess I would just rather not, unless they're extremely interested, I wouldn't want the public to necessarily sit through a
No.
long planning discussion of, you know, so, but with 3 meetings a month, we do have an open Tuesday if we want to use that, or we could schedule it on any other day as long as we give the proper notice to the public, and so,
I guess one of the things, though, regardless of what direction we go, I gotta say, I hate sitting through meetings that don't have an agenda, don't have a point. If we're gonna do something, as a board, we need to figure out what are we gonna be talking about and have something. Otherwise, it kind of gets to be just a 2-hour talk. You know, if we're gonna have some points, let's, you know, either have somebody in charge of putting together an agenda, or what are we gonna talk about? What are the, you know, have some purpose to it versus just.
Well, there are 2 or 3 different ideas out there. Basically, of course, the impetus is the budgeting process, but the how that is done affects a lot of things. And the ultimate goal is to have the board fulfill more of the function that the board should be, my opinion, but the opinion of some other people, should be filling a more overall management situation than it's doing now at times. And possibly, the acronyms escape me now. Tess, give me the two acronyms that we're talking about. ROG is one. What's the
Well, return on, yeah.
My understanding, what was discussed was looking at performance-based budgeting, which is
Yeah.
more of a strategic planning tool, or some refer to it as
The result-oriented.
results-oriented government?
Government, but the
Yeah.
tools are the same. It requires some strategic goal, a set of principles, if you will, by which to make decisions when you are hard-pressed decisions between two competing interests for the same pool of dollars. I look at that as building. The board did some work last year when we did that mini strategic planning with capacity building and leveraging current resources for maximizing the effective use of your dollars and increasing the return on investment. I am hearing, I'll just throw this out, I'm hearing two different conversations, though, that I would ask you to try to sort through in your minds a bit. And one is the budget as process itself and how we get through the annual process is a result of a more long-term strategic process, which is everything from how you're structuring your departments, because that's where you look to see where you can find a pool of dollars or savings so that you can leverage those dollars and use them elsewhere. That's a little different than maybe just your annual process, and how you get through things. So one is a overarching strategy with tactical measures put in place and assessment tools identified to tell you if you're actually doing anything or if you're just spinning your wheels. And the other is, how do you get to your annual planning? They certainly are hand in glove. But to say that this would be all said and done prior to initiating things the end of June, no. But it is could be a first step towards making a difference going forward in subsequent
How
years.
about if Tess puts some things down, brings them to the next meeting, and we schedule something based on what we would see most pertinent at that point?
Yeah, I completely agree with Justin that we need to structure that meeting in such a way
Right.
that we know
Yeah,
what's
what
going to
we're
happen
going in.
going in. We
Yeah.
have some concept of
So-
where we're at, and we've got some choices to look at, some decisions to make.
So you'll accept that charge?
Yes, sir. What is the time frame of that meeting? How long do you anticipate that meeting lasting? Because that changes how you structure your agenda.
Well, anything that gets over an hour starts to get unproductive, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there any way we could do something like you said originally, if we say pick one of our meetings a week and say, we're gonna do everything to the end like we normally do. It's still gonna stay open, but now we ask Tess to sit with us at this one meeting a month and let's work on our processes. And she can come up with different things, or we can ask for different things, but I think we don't have a set date, time, we do this for 45 minutes once a month.
Yeah, and I would agree.
Start a process.
Yeah, I mean, okay, 45 minutes after the first meeting of the month, or whatever the case may be, you
Right.
have a designated.
Yeah.
Time to work on different processes that we want to work on, budgeting and just overall hierarchy and something like.
with materials out to you a week ahead of time, so if you say,
Yeah.
we don't want to talk about this, we don't see any value in that, take that out and I can make adjustments. Because actually, when you're looking at performance management, you have to be flexible and nimble and adjust and course adjust as you go. So if I send you materials that you go, gosh, this is just, I don't even see us having this discussion. Let
Is
me
there
know when-
consensus to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think one last thing, if we do, I would like to limit each meeting to one topic. Let's do one topic and hammer it out versus trying to do three things.
Trying to do
and-
too much that
Yeah.
we can't get back to.
Do one thing and let's hammer that out and then go to the next after that.
Yeah,
Is
I'd like
that, is that workable in the process, Tess?
The devil's in the definition of how you define topic.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is if the board says we want to set a goal, we're going to talk about budgeting. Okay, we're going to talk about budgeting. We're not going to talk about budgeting and then restructuring and then, capital improvements. And, you're getting too many things. If we're going to talk about it, okay, budgeting. Now, in budgeting, what are we going to talk about? What's the thing we're going to talk about today? Otherwise, it gets very broad, and then we spend an hour talking a little bit about each one, and we haven't gotten anything solved. So I would like to try and keep it, like the old adage too, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. Let's take one piece, hammer it out, and get it done.
I would say then, Commissioner Zemeski, your first meeting is going to have to be that global so that you can figure out, because you do need to know what your big picture looks like before you start painting by numbers, those little components. And that 1 hour will be very helpful to nail that global down, and then we will identify our components
Yep,
from
I would
that.
agree with that.
Yeah, maybe even come up with their own.
Otherwise,
type
it
of
become-
flow chart
it-
of
There you
how
go.
we want this to work.
Otherwise, it could become the tail that wags the dog if you take the components first and
I think that's
do
a
it
very
that
good
way.
idea.
But we will spend a good hour doing that, and I'll get you resources to help you be thinking about what you want to propose or say individually in that meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and that was, when was this
We
meeting?
say it for the first Tuesday of the
First-
month? Did
First
somebody
meeting,
care?
it'll be a week from next
Yeah,
June
Tuesday.
6th.
Thank you.
yeah,
Pack a lunch.
right.
Thank you.
All right, action items. We've got approved claims, human services and license center disbursements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adopt resolution 17-25 approving gambling license for Sheldon Valley Sportsmen's Association.
So
Make
moved.
a motion. Oh, go ahead. I'll second it then.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Commissioner reports and comments. Fred?
Well, Teresa and I were both at the finance meeting this morning, and she was being much more efficient about taking notes than I was, so.
Well, we just went around and kept it moving, but we did also bring up that Carol's going to provide us with the policy that has been in effect for the last 32 years that Carol's been here, for budgeting process, to give us something to start with on improving or changing if need be. At least we'll have something to start with. So Carol's going to get us that information. And, pardon?
It's in your email.
Okay.
Oh, I haven't looked at that yet. Anyway, and then next week, the auditors are going to do their first walkthrough for the state auditors. And Public Health is going through, they're having their auditing, surveying done this week by the state, so hoping everything goes good. And that's basically it. The other stuff was just talk at this point, so.
32 years?
Carol,
Probably,
32 years of
probably
policy.
good that we mentioned she was 12 when she started here at the county, so.
Well, I thought it was 13.
Oh, she was almost 13? Okay.
I don't know how it's working because I'm 24.
Math isn't like out.
Hey, that's why you're in your position, that creative math, yeah.
Alternative math.
Okay, Scott?
Criminal Justice Center meeting, They'd like to form a committee to look at mental health.
Of the board?
Yep, everybody. No, mostly in the civil area, coming in through the jail system, through, and then into the social service system, and it's increasing constantly, and we don't have a real good system on handling the mental health portion of this, and they'd like to look at it farther and try to figure out some system to maybe separate and have a system for mental health. So we're just starting a committee through the Criminal Justice Center Committee to look separately at that. Other than that,
It's an issue everywhere.
yeah, everybody has it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to deal with it, and but it's their time to start trying to divide some stuff out and make a.
Yeah, I've mentioned before, but Hennepin County's had a mental health court for a number of years, trying to keep those people out of the regular system, but, there are
Right.
holes in that system too. But
Right. He said we probably, at least let's try to make an attempt at separating what we can out and maybe
Yep.
save ourselves a lot of money and a lot of people a lot of heartache.
Right.
So, also, like to go back to when we were talking about the buffer strip laws and stuff, or what's coming down with the buffer strips. They're putting in their ordinances that if you're out of compliance the first time, there's a penalty, or there's this. Second time, it's this. I mean, this has just showed us we need a system. If you're out of compliance with our ordinances, you're not just out of compliance. The first time's one thing, second time, we need a system, I believe, that we should be going towards. So, out of compliance once, out of compliance twice, out of compliance 3 times. How we want to set this up, because we don't just say, we'll vote on it every time, and there's got to be a better system.
I should have followed a little closer, but I thought there was an article last week that the state's still wrestling with the whole
They,
Buffer strip thing.
yeah, and they
No.
didn't come, they will have to go into special session because the state, the legislators didn't conclude their budgeting last night by midnight. So,
I don't know what anybody else feels, but I think we got to do something more than we're doing.
Did you have something on that, Glenn?
Yeah, I want to follow the water board out there, and I heard on the radio yesterday that the legislature made some significant changes, in the buffer law yesterday. I'm not sure what they are, but there was, according to the news, there was significant changes made to that. Something as far as a longer grace period of getting it started, and some other changes.
Okay.
You may want to look at that a little bit.
we're supposed to get a report from AMC later this week too, what they did come up with.
Okay.
But I also heard on the same thing that Glenn, not buffer zones, but the assessor, they have all these things that they want the counties to have them, to have this AMA or CME or requirements. Most, like our assessor, Carl, is thinking of leaving because he doesn't have time to take all the tests that he would need to take to get that next thing. Where they're now looking at that again, that this is a burden on counties, and we aren't going to have anybody even apply to be an assessor because of all the requirements. So that's, the legislators dealing with that too. And they're also saying that grandfathering in people who have been working in an assessor's office as an assessor for so long would not need, they'd be basically grandfathered in, would not need the extra certifications. Those are 2 big things that could affect counties too. But
Thank you. Thanks, Glenn. All right. Justin, or did you have anything else, Scott?
Nope, I'm good.
Nothing.
Okay, well, Teresa and I, Aaron Locker, Dan Griffin from Planning, and then a city representative and a township, the Crescent Township rep, all attended the seminar on land use in St. Cloud last Friday. Very informative. I guess it'd be an indication you can never know enough. There's, it was well attended and lots of feedback from various counties and cities, and so hopefully we can all benefit from knowing more about what we can and can't do and should and shouldn't do. And so I think it was good, and particularly glad that Aaron was there absorbing some more, because he's obviously the point man every day. So, but I think it was a worthwhile meeting. And the other, I got to say a few words at the dedication of the new bike trail from the new interstate bridge to Dresbach. Nice turnout of people on a threatening day, a lot of them on bicycles. It used to be a well-used trail, and it became so deteriorated that people stopped using it, so they were very happy with the new trail. Obviously extremely scenic as you ride along Mississippi, and bluffs on one side and the river on the other. It was kind of, not kind of, I was looking for it here. They divided up responsibilities for maintenance of the trail, and between Friends of the Blufflands, Dresbach Township, City of La Crescent, Winona County, which is where it is actually located, although on such a far end of the county that the majority of users are Houston County people, and a lot of them La Crescent. So, and MnDOT, which MnDOT actually ended up funding this, which was very nice. So anyway, since we don't have a direct responsibility, I volunteered that Houston County would be in the bullpen if they needed assistance with any of this stuff. You know, ask us, and if we can accommodate, I certainly think we should. So that's it. Anybody else with anything?
Jack, I've got a question. On this land use meeting in St. Cloud, did they talk about what Scott brought up a couple of minutes ago, the penalty aspect of some of the land use things?
No.
That wasn't.
No, that wasn't.
No, it was basically on variances, on conditional use permit, how to gather information, how to conduct open meetings, public hearings. I actually doubted it because I thought it's an 8-hour drive for a 5-hour meeting, but it was worth every bit of it because I learned a lot too.
Okay, anyone else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
No comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, public comment, anyone?
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Gretchen Cook from the City of La Crescent. I would like very much for 3 commissioners, Mr. Connors, Ms. Walters, and Mr. Arnold, to explain on the record to the county taxpayers why they voted to not enforce the laws and regulations of this county. You owe us an explanation. You should not be able to pick and choose which laws you wish to enforce. Of further concern, employer of one of the neighbors was encouraged to fire her. Pets have died, laws have been broken, threats have been made, neighbors are afraid. All of this has been reported. You have given a bully with a badge for their entitlement. This is on your shoulders. Stand up and explain yourselves. I believe you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Thank you.
Donna Buckby, Yucatan Township. The situation over the past few years in Houston County has been likened to George Orwell's Animal Farm. It's been called Orwellian. And the famous line from Animal Farm is, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And in this struggle, the animals who have been more equal are the people with positions in power or the friends of people in positions in power. It wasn't just the former zoning administrator who threatened and lied about people. I have received threats out in a deserted hallway after a frac sand study committee meeting 3.5 years ago. I was surrounded by 3 big, brave men who threatened to come to my property and do property damage. All 3 of those people were here today. You have emboldened and enabled more threats to continue. This won't stop, as you said, Justin, and I thank you, Justin and Jack, for your decency and your morality and your accountability. But I fear that the 3 of you have enabled and emboldened the threateners. And as you said, Justin, this isn't going to stop. You have enabled this.
Anybody else?
Yvonne Krogstad, Caledonia Township. I too am very disappointed in the vote of you 3. The board asked Attorney Squires to prepare 2 options. He did prepare the order for option 1, but for option 2 he left it blank. And it's not because he wouldn't have found reason. The letter that Mr. Miller referred to proves that. You also totally ignored Judge Storino's statement that the CUP was approved in mistake. Please explain to the county residents how you arrived at your decision. It's ridiculous. And by revoking the CUP, that would not have prevented Erickson's from mining. They could just apply for a CUP and start mining legally rather than bullying their way through, as was indicated before. I am very disappointed in you 3.
My name is Lorraine Culver. I am from Houston, the city. I moved here from Chicago just a little bit less than 5 years ago. And when anybody in Houston County hears that, of course, the big bad city comes to mind. And I'm, Chicago. And my first experience here was, I was really pleased at how easy it was to come to this meeting and present my point of view, my opinions, what I thought I knew. And as I have lived almost 5 years now in this county, I have observed that there are at least 2 laws here, 2 sets of laws. One is the laws that are on the books and which I believe Dan Griffin at one point in a public meeting agreed that they've never been enforced since, was it 67 when those ordinances went in? Or was that right?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay. And there's another law here which is more ancient, which is law which we believe it is continuous for many, many centuries, which is the right of private property. And as in the beginning of that, a king or a lord of some kind granted property and made that person who received the property the lord of that property. And the people who lived on it had to obey him. If he said they deserved death, they could be executed. And the one that I read that always makes people chuckle, I don't quite understand why, but he got to deflower the new bride if he wanted to. I'm not sure that's so funny, but apparently it was true. And that is really, in my opinion, a big hunk of why the rationally, I assume, derived ordinances that went in 67 were never enforced, because they countered that sense of personal property rights, as if that superseded any law. And I too am disappointed.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Eric Johnson, Houston Township. I wanted to talk about something else, but I feel the majority on that decision with the Erickson mine was a legally defensible decision, and I commend you for that. As far as this public comment thing, I've noticed that there's no rules set for public comment. Now, there's just been some slanderous comments made, and I was wondering, is that rules going to be enforced to prevent slanderous comments?
As an example.
What Ms. Cook said and Ms. Buckby, all the so-called accusations, I mean, that's got to stop.
They're all on file. All those that-
And another, excuse me, it's my turn to talk.
Okay, let me respond. What they said, I'm right here.
What's that?
What they said is right here. You want to read it?
Who said?
What Ms. Cook and Ms. Buckby said. It's public knowledge.
About what? That they were
Well, what's slanderous?
What, being accused of being called names and bullying and at meetings and stuff? Is that all public on your sheet there?
Well, no, but what transpired as far as the neighbors is concerned
What I'm saying, Jack, is that when they're making false accusations, just throwing it out there with no substantiation, you can't allow that to be held at public comment.
Who said it was false?
Who knows it's true? I don't know.
Right. So
Well,
if it's not true.
Whatever, I'm
there
not
could
going
be
to sit
false
here and
either.
debate that. Let me go on to what I really wanted to talk about, and that is about the buffer rule.
Yes.
I've been following this rule too, being a farmer myself, and I also want you guys to realize that there's also what they call a six-pack rule. It's an alternative practice rule that can be used in place of a buffer in situations where, like along the river mainly, that's usually the highest point of the field. So there, if you no-till, do a cover crop, grass the inlets, seed down the inlets, that would be sufficient to comply with that law. So I just wanted to make clear that there's alternative practice rule that can be used for that.
Is that in with the buffer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was just announced here back in April.
Right, that's true.
And so,
And I know too, adding with what Eric's saying too, I was talking to Soil and Water that, some of the farmers, the issue that I have and I think Eric being a farmer too, see, that all of a sudden you've got an acre of land by the river that I'm paying taxes on and I can't use. And I think that's the biggest thing people are commenting on, that at least let us do something that we're not just losing it.
Right, we're not against buffers.
Right.
But we want something that's workable.
Right.
I mean, why buffer a dike? I mean, water's not gonna get to the river through that.
Right.
So why not use an alternative practice, and that's where that would come in.
Or even like too, and you might have some experiences, and I don't know if what's all in there, but even if you could hay it, or, keep
Well, you
material
can
there.
hay it, right.
Yeah, but do something that you can make money on
Get
versus just
something out of
losing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you begin doing that,
A lot of farmers are upset of this rule because it was so heavy-handed, done at the stroke of midnight. There was no compensation for it, and that's where a lot of guys have problems with it. A lot of them consider it's a taking.
But not having a farm background, Eric, I'm just wondering if you start making a lot of exceptions, is it going to be impossible to enforce?
Well, that's another crux of the whole matter, is that a lot of the counties are going and say, how are we going to enforce this? There's so many variations and different interpretations of the rule, and it was done, like I said, at the stroke of midnight. It was not a well-thought-out law, and that's being discovered now as the process is unfolding, so.
Okay.
And there's
We've been talking about that, these meetings, water planning meetings that I go to once a month, first Thursday of the month. We talk about that all the time, and it's a zoo. You're absolutely right. It's a real mess, and we're trying to, the people that have to deal with it, Dan and Dave, are just,
They're beside themselves.
what can we do with this thing?
And I think that's why a lot of it's gonna get delayed and postponed, so they can have their ducks in a row. So
Sounds like it probably should be.
Right.
Yeah, rather than unfold a mess and then try to clean it up.
Well, I think like Eric said too, I don't think anybody's against a buffer. We all see the benefit of it. It's just
How to handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
It's an over-regulated thing already.
I have those threats on audio tape. I gave that to you, Justin. I don't know if you bothered to listen to it. Those threats are audio tape.
Okay.
I was
All right.
holding it right in my hand. They didn't notice that. All
Okay.
I wanted to do was try to intimidate.
Okay, thank you.
And we in the city call it a boulevard. We have to maintain it, we pay taxes on it, but you can't plant a tree on it, and it's for the good of the city. Give a little deference to the road.
Well,
It's been done for years.
And Gretchen, to be honest with you, I've got the same issue, and I think it's a broader thing. Ditches, we pay taxes on ditches, but it's right of way. We can't do anything. I think it's just, and kind of what Eric's getting at is it's one more of those things. The boulevard thing. I agree. So you pay taxes, you do it, but you can't do anything with it, and it's that overreaching.
But it's
I
for
think.
the good of the community.
I get that. I think that's where we're getting at. Is nobody disagrees that it's not for the good. It's how do we do it where it's not impacting so much. But you're right.
I too resent being called a liar.
Okay. And I would take a motion for adjournment.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.